Warren County Pioneers improved to 6-0 with an exciting win over Siegel at Murfreesboro Friday night. Hi, everybody. I'm Jay Walker with 92.1 The Ticket, your home for Warren County Pioneer sports. And welcome to Turner Time, featuring Warren County Pioneer head football coach Matt Turner and the Warren County Sports Authority, Jeff Simmons. Gentlemen, it wasn't easy, was it? But we're 6-0.
Hey, a win's a win now.
Absolutely.
I would take it every time.
I'm not going to complain. Win's a win. It was ugly, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, when you start talking about 30 years worth of losing seasons and then you finally secure it, you don't really worry about how you did it. You just figured out that you did do it, and then this team did. I mean, I think everybody thought this team was going to do it at the start of the season. Did people think we were going to do it in the first 6 games of the season? Maybe, maybe not, but here we are, 6-0, 3-0 in the region. 3-0 in Murfreesboro.
I love it.
Those are great. I mean, the stats don't lie.
I can't be no better.
Well, let's look at some highlights.
Right.
Kason Holder had another good game, making a lot
well.
of plays, interception, tackles, catching, running, doing it all.
Yeah, he actually got our team MVP this week, because he just hustled and did some great things, right there. And actually, they was some times on that sideline, the kids knew it. The kids knew they overlooked them, probably didn't prepare for them. They kind of hoodooed me a little bit because I felt like they was, but they didn't. But Kason came up with some big plays and really helped motivate that swing, because every team's looking for their leaders to do things, whether it's Kason or CJ or Clay, any of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that you see here, I mean, it's just pretty evident, and it's something that you're just going to see from Warren County week to week is guys that have to do it on both sides of the ball. I mean, you have Clay gets the Kason gets the interception. He's making tackles. I mean, he's one of your team leaders in tackles, and that was after shifting him to a new position this week.
Right.
And then on offense, he's your leading receiver. He's one of your leading rushers. I mean, he's a do-it-all player, and it's the reason why there's a lot of colleges looking at him right now, and probably more to come.
Yep, I believe so. Him and his brother went up to Lindsey Wilson this weekend, and of course that's where one of our alumni is at, Michael Thrower up there, and they was excited that Ryland was on board, because everybody's kind of thought that the baseball guys, but I think these guys are football players through and through.
They've looked like football players this year. I mean, absolutely. The both of them. You could have a highlight package of Ryland plays too, and it would look pretty impressive too. So.
Special teams were huge the other night, a mixed bag.
Oh.
We've got some good, we've got some bad. Let's look at the good first.
All right, yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. Well, this was the first. I mean, this is the very first. You get the 3 and out. They punt. A lot of teams have talked about not kicking to CJ, and you don't want to give him the ball in the open field. He shows you why right here, 54-yard return that ends up setting up a first field goal for the team. And then, Coach, Tony Curtis banging a couple through to get you on the board in the first quarter.
Yeah, that was big. Of course, like you said, of course, I know some of the bad's going to come from us a minute ago. I guarantee that punter's supposed to got it off his foot and not kick it to anybody but number 1. Mm-hmm. Same thing was us, kick it to anybody but number 3. And, of course, that's why kickers are so vital, and it's a trait, those guys. I mean, because that ball is, it's not round, and it come off the foot wrong. But obviously Tony on his field goals was doing well, and I feel like, of course I know we're going to talk about the bad here in a minute, but the protection on some of the field goals, I think if they protect, Tony will put it through. But yeah, CJ right there gets on that edge, and I thought people don't realize how fast he is.
They still don't know.
No.
They still don't know. And, Coach, I mean, we see Tony kicking another field goal, one of his 2 in this game. But right here, the punt block. You told me during the week last week that you could get to one. Called your shot. Team goes out there and executes it.
Yeah, they called that the shield punt, shield punt. And you see how wide those splits are and everything. There's 3 big guys, 3 big bodies back there in front of that punter, and you're supposed to force everything to those that wall of big bodies. And we actually done that last year, and we tried to go with it. And you saw that one kid, even on that first punt that they did, that wall cannot move. It's got to be solid. And I watched on film and saw where they kept breaking off, and I thought, man, we can get that, because I seen it against us last year. Mm-hmm. And of course that's why we don't do that style of punt team no more. But yeah, we worked on it all week. And we worked on it all year, but I felt this was the time to pull it out,
And of course, that's Braylon Grayson coming through, and then you have Ryland and Case and Holder right there on the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that you would maybe ask for
scoop and score.
there is scoop and score.
Scoop and score.
The defense, special teams.
But I'm not going to complain about that.
Yeah.
Not one bit.
We noticed from the radio booth the snap on the first punt was just a lazy rainbow snap.
That was one of the big key tickets that I saw. Obviously, which I've got a little experience in long snapping, and I saw how long. And I was actually timing them in pre-game and just to verify what I saw on film, and I knew that helped with making sure we got there, because people don't realize what a couple tenths of a second does if the snap is not very vital. So, and on that cue, Douglas, Dirty Doug, he is our long snapper, and he actually got our special teams player of the week this week because his snaps were so dead on and had a lot of good velocity on them.
Well, it wasn't all good on special teams, was it?
No, sir, not at all. I think at the end of the game I was actually trying to recruit some special team coaches to come out here and help me. And this right here was a bad situation. The middle of the field was way open, and there was a miscommunication between me and Tony. I wanted to worm burn it or squib kick it, as they call it, and there was just a miscue there. And, of course, it went to number 3. He's very, very good football player. Makes you miss, presses you, steps right out. He's very quick. And we had a hard time tackling him. And, we got some young guys on that team that, we're going to have to evaluate going down the second half of this season, because sophomores, it's tough, and they don't understand that play is a very, very big play. Even though that might be the only play they play that whole night, it is huge. And then our PAT, we talked about that a little bit before, our protection. And I actually talked to the young man that kind of allowed that penetration to come through, and he was what I call grabbing grass, trying to grab like low, and I said, no, we got to get those hands on there, and we got to form a wall, and they got to set you on the back. You can actually see where they came hard. I think it was Caden maybe that you see getting kind of blowed out there, but is actually on Aaron Ashburn's side that the kid came through. So.
Well, it's both of these things is like you said. There's a little bit of miscommunication. There's a little bit of youth. There's a little bit of inexperience there. It's just a combination of all those things. And then, of course, Kendall Martin, number 3 for them, is just probably one of the fastest athletes that we've seen through 6 games. There's no doubt about that. And then, of course, after this touchdown too is the play where we run, and it's not on this package, but we run a PAT block, and we have a little bit more miscommunication. Send both of our guys from each
Don't
edge.
even want to talk about it.
And then CJ, CJ gets banged up a little bit. So, that's where we're talking about special teams play. And then that's not even taking into account we return a kick 95 yards for a touchdown. We make a momentum play in special teams.
And then we get a block low block.
And we get a low block, and it comes back 80 yards. And we had to start from the 20 instead of celebrating in the end zone. And those are the things that have been kind of an issue as we've went this season, and it's something that
gotta fix.
If it's not fixed, it's going to end up being an issue, or it's going to cost you a game before the season's over.
Yeah, and what's crazy about the incident with CJ and Kaysen, because we actually use Siegel as an example that you never send 2 guys. You never rush from both sides, because we was very, very fortunate if these guys didn't dive out. Because we could be sitting here talking about 2 kids that got in concussion protocol because they went helmet to helmet because they're laid out. And we actually made a rule, and that was on our fault, the coaching staff, because Coach Bond and Coach Harris are calling in signaling plays. Coach Harris does a lot with the up front guys. Coach Bond's doing the coverage. Mm-hmm. And obviously – big momentum swing, and they're kind of discussing or making sure personnel's right, and that's why a lot of times I'm not wearing a headset, so I can kind of manage the game, and we made a rule that CJ can call it a block right or block left, and he had made that call, but then I think Coach Bond said go. So that was on the coaching staff. We got lucky as far as that. And then the block below the waist goes back to a personnel issue. A young man, a sophomore, that actually got the penalty, and you know, people don't realize varsity football at this level in Murfreesboro, even though that's an 0-5 team, that team's had a lot of experience doing kickoffs where we hadn't.
Yep.
Let's look at final stats. C.J. Taylor, 5 for 9 passing for 41 yards. Rushing, C.J. 21 carries, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns. How many touchdowns has he got this season?
He has 15.
15. Wow.
He now has 15 rushing touchdowns. He's thrown four passing touchdowns. 15 touchdowns, I think, ties him for third all-time in a single season. So, I mean, I think 17 will be the next one. And then, of course, Jeff Watson. Or Jeff
Watson.
Jeff Womack. Sorry, yeah. Jeff Womack has the record with 34 touchdowns in the season. And, you know, if CJ gets to 34 this year, one of two things happen. We finished 10-0, and he's been dominant, or we finished like 14 and 15-0. Yeah, and either one of those would be fine with me.
Right. I'll take either one.
Kaysen Holder, 4 carries, 51 yards. Braylon Grayson, 3 carries for 23. Rylan Holder, 7 carries for 15. Bryson Elrod scored a rushing touchdown.
Bryson has perfected that QB sneak.
He is. I mean, you know, and I mean that's some reps and experience and things like that, and he sees it and very confident in it. You know, but looking at these stats, you know, you see Braylon Grayson and Rylan Holder and or Kaysen Holder and Rylan. Either way, I mean their averages are crazy, and that just tells me that we've got to get the ball in their hands more.
Defensively, Braylon Grayson, 11 tackles. Rylan Holder, 6 tackles. Kaysen, 5 tackles and an interception. And Aaron Ashburn, a huge sack in the fourth quarter, which made it 4th and a mile, and they had to punt.
Yeah, big momentum swing by Aaron that came in, and you know, and Aaron is very long-legged and elusive like that, and can cover a lot of ground. But yeah, you know, big play by Aaron right there.
Special teams, CJ, 54-yard punt return, and Tony Curtis, 2 field goals, 29 and 32 yards.
Yep, Coach. I mean, you look at the C.J. Taylor punt return. He had 54 yards. You know, Clay Thompson's had some 30-yard kick returns. You know,
one's coming.
Yeah, I mean, you keep looking at it, and it's the hidden yardage, and it's what we talk about in special teams all the time, is where it can break the game. You know, Clay against Blackman averaged 33 yards a return. CJ had that 95-yarder called back. He's had a 28-yard punt return. He's had a 54-yard punt return this season. You know, Kaysen Holder had some good returns earlier in the year. It's there, and you know, in these games where you're probably not going to hold the opponent to 0 points or 3 points as much as we'd like to.
Right.
You have to be effective in the special teams, and especially on those kickoffs, and you have been. It's just making sure that it counts when they actually.
Yeah, I mean we can't take them, get some, and then take them back. You know, because the miscommunication. Tony had 6 points there through the field goals, but at the same time he kicked the ball straight to number 3, and he knew better to do that. And of course, so number 3 got his 6 points right back. So you know, but yeah, we got to be more consistent in that, obviously. You know, but you know, you take away that big run there, and we punch that in. Instead of taking a knee, the score's, you know, 33-14, and it looks totally different. And that's all really in special teams. So.
All right, Jeff Simmons, who is our Security Federal Player of the Week?
Who you got?
We went with the sophomore, Braylon Grayson. He's been doing it all year on both sides of the ball, and again, he was here tonight. 11 tackles Friday against Siegel, and then he had a huge 24-yard run there in the fourth quarter that kind of iced the game during that momentum swing where you got the ball 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Siegel has scored to make it a one-possession game. You don't want to give them the ball back, and you don't.
No.
I mean, you never did. I mean, 6 minutes and 40 seconds, and you run it all the way down to the 1-yard line, take the knee.
Yeah, you know, and people don't, you know, because I think Kaysen had a big run on that drive as well, you know, and that's 2 wings there, and that's, you know, going back to their averages right there, why they're so high. You know, they both got some of those big yards on that last carry. And a lot of it was because, you know, I'm sure defenses know that number ones, we're going to try to put the ball in the hands of number 1. And those 2 plays were designed trap plays or counter plays. You know, and you know, man, like I said, we got to get the ball in Grayson and Kaysen's hand more often. But, yeah, Braylon, you know, and what he does on defense as a sophomore, he's one of those kids that's an exception. You know, a lot of we talked about special teams personnel, some of those guys are not ready to play just yet. That young man is. He's very smart, very knowledgeable. You'll see him actually grab the D lineman and move them when, you know, they're sucking wind up there and they're not properly lined up or doing something. You know, and he's making the calls. So, I mean, Coach Bond literally hands his keys off to his defense to a sophomore, but more than capable of doing it, obviously.
Yeah, and, and Grayson, you keep talking about getting the ball in his hands. I mean, he's a guy that's averaging almost 10 yards a touch right now on offense. So, I mean, he's definitely somebody that you can maybe find even more ways to get involved, because it just seems like good things happen when he's involved in the play.
Yeah, he's a young man that's going to be very, very fun to watch for the next couple of years and even the remainder, because, I mean, his confidence is just building and building and building. So, I'm excited to see this young man go. So
congratulations to Braylon Grayson, our Security Federal Player of the Week. Now time for the tough question for Turner, Jeff Simmons.
Coach, Pioneer Fan 1976 emailed this in, and, of course, you can email it every week to wcsportsauthority@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on our Facebook, send them in. This one was more of a general question, and I think it came because we've went to Murfreesboro back-to-back weeks. But we have a school of nearly 2,000 students playing against schools with 2,000 students. But why are we continuing to face rosters with twice and 3 times as many players as us? What are you doing as a coaching staff to see if you can get more people to participate in football?
All right, so it sounds like this is a 2-part question here. So the first part is why do we continue to face that? And I feel like a lot of that obviously has been this 29-year streak that we've been on. Kids want to be a part of something successful. I don't care what they are, especially even now with this instant gratification through the cell phones and internet. And I mean, you can get it boom right there, the kids don't know, and that whole generation of you got a dang trophy because you just showed up. They want their. You say that in wrestling, because wrestling's one of the toughest sports ever. They wanted that T-shirt and that trophy before they even put any work in. So obviously winning will bring on, and just changing that mindset. But secondly too is, in my opinion, is our youth program, or the lack of. I evaluated it last year when I took it over, and obviously I've been here for years and years and years, and it is very lackluster. And I know I may upset some guys, and I know there's been some guys that have put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that, and they probably hadn't had the support staff, and they probably might not have the head coaches throughout the time to help them or support them. So obviously that is something that we're going to address this spring. It's my job as a head coach and Coach Matheny going there to have a structure set up for that. Yeah. So the youth program and just the obviously just not being successful. And of course, and what am I doing? Yeah. I'm out there recruiting, man, and recruiting, and right now working on the program, taking care of things, making sure these guys, these 25, 30 guys that are playing on and giving everything out on Friday night, I'm taking care of them, and they go out there, and they're the biggest recruiter that I have for this program. And of course, I'm walking the hallways, because I remember what year was it? I hit up a big old 6'3", 300-pound young man in the hallways, and I was like, dude, why are you not playing football? So that would be one of our hosts over here, Mr. Simmons. So yeah. you can explain why didn't you play football?
It's a great. It was 2003.
Yeah,
and
we was pretty bad.
And the football program when I was in high school was 1-39.
Yep.
And one of the things that I was thinking was, why?
Yeah.
Why spend the time with it? So
Yeah, I'm excited because I know winning is the best recruiting tool that we can have.
Well, we're back at good old Nunley Stadium this Friday night. Cookeville Cavaliers, they seem to have had our number for the past umpteen million years, but we got them again this year. Had a chance last year.
We did.
Had a chance to pull it out late, but just fell short. How's the team improved since that time?
Since that time, the team, that was one of those games. I remember that game very vividly. We lost that game 6 points, didn't we,
yep.
Mr. Simmons?
It was 25-19.
And we had it in the bank, and we should have. If we play that game this year with what I've learned since that time, or just what I learned that night, we probably win that game.
Yep.
And I remember telling the team after that game that year that loss was on me. Because I didn't put them in the right position at that time. So I feel like it's not really where this team, the team, but I feel like the coaching staff has matured and understands more game management, stuff like that. And of course, you go against a very veteran coach like Coach Maynard that's been doing it for 40 years maybe, you better be on your toes, and last year I wasn't, and I better be on my toes this year too, because he'll take advantage of anything he gets.
Yeah, I vividly remember the speech that you gave the team after the Cookeville game, and it was sincere, and the tone of it was, I wish that I was going to be the coach that I'm going to be for you this year.
Yeah.
Because and it was just, it was a sincere. You knew you were going to improve as a coach,
yep.
But in that game, there was just some things where I don't think our coaching staff was ready to take that leap.
Yep.
In those last 4 or 5 minutes, because the opportunity presented itself, and in a lot of ways we just didn't put our team in the position to win.
No, and I remember that. I remember exactly. That's what I told them. I apologize to those seniors, that they didn't have the coach that I was going to be in 3 or 4 years. And even the coach that I feel like I have and the staff.
Yep.
It's not just me, it's the staff, because on Friday nights, man, that staff's working their tail off. But yeah, we're learning, and this is a year of first, and you guys know we're very unconventional. We're not we're not your typical atypical football staff or even football team. So, but I felt like being sincere and opening up and putting myself out there to those juniors and even those sophomores, they understood that, we all make mistakes, but we went back to the grinding board and went to work, So, but yeah, and I think we were a year better in our system, same system we're running. So, I think, but I know Cookeville is going to be a year better as well.
Well, the Pioneers are 6-0, snapped a 30-year streak of losing seasons, but going to be looking to snap another streak this Friday. Jeff, haven't done that well against Cookeville lately, but I do remember the 2008 game.
Yep. Warren County last win against Cookeville was on Halloween, a double overtime game where Morgan Wilcher rushes for 2 touchdowns in that game, and that actually was the first Warren County win over Cookeville since 1992.
That's right.
So when you go back to it and you start talking about, every time we start talking about 30 years, 40 years in this program,
it's a year first.
Cookeville is one of those teams that were consistently handing us losses every single year.
Yep.
So this is another week where you have to do something that Warren County teams in the past haven't done, and that's beat Cookeville.
Bring it on. Of course, Morgan Wilcher, those guys I had in middle school, and I remember that game vividly as well. I was actually on the sideline. I think I might have even been driving the bus for Coach Madewell, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Because that was Coach Madewell. Yeah. But of course, watching them young men develop. But, and I lost my senior year. I remember we went up there and they just built that new high school, and they just opened the brand new stadium, which now has turf on it. But right then it was a brand new stadium, and I remember it was nice. And I think we lost either 7-9 or 9-12. I mean, we had an opportunity to beat them there at Cookeville. And so, but these seniors, man, that's what people ask me, is it going to be hard to get these guys motivated for Cookeville? And I was like, well, if these kids ain't motivated to Cookeville, they don't live in Warren County, because there's just a hated rivalry there, and of course the basketball, we seen it last year, or you see it on the basketball court,
you see it everywhere.
and you see, and it's the same way in the wrestling room as well. So there's a good rivalry there, and I believe these boys, they know, this is one of those in the back of their mind. They would give up some wins elsewhere to beat Cookeville.
Oh, it's across the board. I mean, you see it on the soccer field in the falls.
Yeah, because Coach Wilmore had a good week against them, and I texted him and said, hey, congratulations. And I said, I bet that was fun. He said, sure was.
Yep.
So,
well, it's been 2 long trips to Murfreesboro the last 2 weeks. How's it going to feel to finally get back home?
Where's that at? Where is it? It feels like we haven't played at Nunley Stadium in forever. I don't know why that is. I don't know if those trips and these Friday nights at Murfreesboro's just been really long. But very excited, and obviously it's homecoming, which it'll have a different spiel with the COVID and stuff. It won't be as festive with the big floats and the homecoming parade, which – as a head coach, you're kind of like, oh, that's okay, I'll take that, because I'm always make sure my kids are not staying up all night working on floats. But yeah, I'm excited. We play well at home. The kids enjoy it. And the kids, even though it's not technically, because it's not really their home, but it's still our home. That's where we play. Because this generation, that's the middle school football team or middle school football field, but it is Nunley Stadium.
Yeah.
We had those Nunley nights, and we had some Nunley nights even this off season. And the kids are actually wanting to camp again at the end of the season because we slept on the Nunley nights last year. Had a camp trip and slept there. So they understand the all the blood and sweat and everything that's been bled there, and are honored to play.
Yeah, well, I mean, since you've taken over with the Warren County 6-1 at home in the Matt Turner era, and like you said, you referenced it. It's gonna be homecoming, and we're also going to be honoring that 1980 Pioneer team that went 11-2. And a nice tie-in for that. We were just talking about Morgan Wilcher.
Yep.
His father played on that team in the 1980 team, and I think maybe these numbers on this back that
guy wore them
numbers.
Yep. So I don't even know why that number is even still on the field just yet. Man set records and do things like that. I think that. That jersey,
might find a rafter for it somewhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, but anyway, excited about that. And of course, Coach Wilmore, our AD, I think he was maybe a sophomore that year. And I was actually reading through the record books and different things, and saw a lot of names. And what's crazy is I saw a lot of dads that back when I came back from college that was doing some of that, going back to that youth program that was invested in Morgan Wilcher and I think Hal was on that team, and and those guys. But it's time for the next generation. There's a span there after that needs to step up as far as the public and the dads and stuff like that. But it's my job as a head coach to provide a platform to do it, and we're going to do that this spring.
So it's Warren County hosting Cookeville Friday night, homecoming at Nunley Stadium. Get you a ticket if you can and be there. And don't forget, we'll have the broadcast, 92.1 The Ticket, also 1230WAKI.com. Online, and the Warren County Sports Authority will have updates.
We'll be doing we'll have Ansley Mulliken there.
You got more people than I got staff. It's crazy. I'm going to start recruiting some of your staff to help coach special teams.
Yeah, we'll have Ansley Mulliken on our Facebook Live. Easton will be on there. We'll see if we can get Ty on there this week. And we'll have a lot of people down there. We're going to try to get everybody on the updates on Facebook Live pregame with Coach Turner. We'll be there at the end of the quarters at halftime, and hopefully on the field at the end of the game after a win.
And I appreciate it, and I want to say thank you to everybody here, and even the guys that's not involved in this show, and Mr. Carter. I know he's doing. There's just a lot of guys helping promote these kids, and it can't. It's tough. And so if I have to get out there and act like a fool to keep Warren County football out front and get on top of that mountain and scream about how good these kids are, I'm going to be out there. So, but I do appreciate you guys allowing the platform and the time to do this.
Yeah.
Want to thank our sponsor, Security Federal Savings Bank. Want to thank Butt Bums for having us out here this evening. And we thank you for watching. For Coach Matt Turner, the Warren County Sports Authority, Jeff Simmons, I'm Jay Walker. We'll see you next time on Turner Time.
Go Pioneers.